The name of the island they found me on is Lian. It's Mandarin for purgatory. I've been stranded here for 5 years. I've dreamt of my rescue every cold black night since then. For 5 years, I've had only one thought, one goal: survive. Survive and one day return home. The island held many dangers. To live, I had to make myself more than what I was, to forge myself into a weapon. I am returning. Not the boy who was shipwrecked, but the man who will bring justice to those who have poisoned my city. My name is Oliver Queen.
So, Dan, it is time. We've been waiting for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for a while to do this. As in about 2 weeks ago when we found out we both had the same plan.
You mean when you stole my plan?
It wasn't stealing. It was simply a happy coincidence that we both had the same idea for a YouTube series.
I like to refer to it as stealing.
Well, you know, you can call it what you want. Because even if it was stealing, the point is, it's a brilliant idea. And I had the brilliant idea of, well, as we are both hosses and we're both very good friends, I thought, why don't we combine our ideas into one gigantic, brilliant idea? I'm not going anywhere with this metaphor, right? So basically what we're doing is, if you watched my video a while ago, you'll know that I announced that we were going to be doing a brand new series where we're going to be going through every single episode of Arrow from Season 1, Episode 1, all the way up to Season 8, Episode 10. This is going to take us about 2 millenniums to do, but we'll get through it. Now, obviously, initially, I was just going to make videos on this. It was just going to be me. But, as I said, I recently discovered that Dan had a very similar idea for his channel, and I thought, why not? Let's just combine the ideas. So, as huge fans of Arrow, it's my personal favourite show of all time. It's up there for you.
Yeah, there's a few shows ahead of it, but I won't list them off here because it will take up the remainder of the video.
Yeah, we don't want to lose viewers this early on. So, as such huge fans of Arrow, we're missing it, you know? It's been gone, and it's missing from the weekly lineup of the Arrowverse shows. I mean, you've dropped off most of them now.
No, actually, I've been catching up with quite a few of them I mean, I've had no excuse because, I mean, we've all been locked inside for the last 3 weeks.
Go on then, fill me in.
Yeah, I've caught up pretty much with all of them now. The only one I need to do is Supergirl, which I still haven't watched since my last episode.
Which was?
But I think that was this is ages ago. I think it must have been episode 5. Ooh. The one with the terrible CGI that was on Corridor Crew. That was the last episode of Supergirl I watched.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, so I got a lot to catch up on. I need a lot of gin to get me through those episodes. But no, I caught up on The Flash. I've watched all of Legends, and yeah, doing good so far. I also finished Black Lightning season 3, and that was very good, really good.
I love Black Lightning. I'm so glad I caught up on that. It's so good. I can't wait till that comes back off season 4. I'm so excited. Like, I'm actually going to be watching it live. I'm really excited.
Oh, definitely. That's my biggest regret. I didn't watch season 3 live because it would have been awesome.
Yeah. Like, I watched season 1 when it came out, and then 2 I kind of watched. 2 I waited when it came out on Netflix, and then, yeah. But it's brilliant. Like, I mean, I did my whole season review. I still think Black Lightning is now the best show in the Arrowverse, to be honest. Now that Arrow is gone. But yeah, anyway, I digress. So with Arrow being our favorite show of all time, we decided to go back and review each and every single episode. I can't speak now. And this is going to be a at least weekly series, given the fact that, you know, with Miss Rona and her virus affecting the world, we are all locked in. So we may actually end up doing more than one a week. I think that's the aim anyway. We're going to try and do more than one a week, but it'll be at least one a week. Because we've got a lot of episodes to get through.
A lot, man. What? I'm trying to remember what episode count is now. Isn't it like 170?
I believe it's 170, yeah. Bang on.
What? Wow.
And by my estimations, if we did one a week, it would take over 2 years. So that's why I'm saying we should probably ramp it up a little bit during this lockdown period.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So we have to start where it all began. Season 1, Episode 1, eloquently titled Pilot. This episode is just memories. It's just nostalgia, it's chills, it's tears, it's just everything. I mean, this episode, as cringy as it sounds, truly symbolizes everything I love about the show. And just like everything it stands for in my head. I just love everything. I've got one negative, which I'll just get out of the way now. The only negative I think of this episode is there's some bad acting in places. And this
man's actually fessing up to it.
Well, I've always said that.
No. It took for me to tell you numerous times that the acting was a bit cheesy at times.
Yeah,
that's the best way to put it.
I mean, yeah, Stephen Amell. I mean, he is amazing as Oliver Queen by the end of the show. I'd say by around season 5, he becomes like consistently brilliant. But in this first season, yeah,
I for me always, and I don't. You never know. This might change with the rewatch, but I always felt that with Stephen Amell, it took him until the back half of season 1 to really like properly find his footing in terms of like Oliver Queen. And then from season 2 onwards, I think throughout every single season, he was just consistently great and then just got better. Season 1's the only one where it was a bit off, but I think I put that down more to the fact that this was his first big leading role in a TV show, which I think naturally to any actor, you're always gonna find that a little bit of a step up, especially when you've done a lot of supporting roles, which is what Stephen Amell had done. But yeah, he's not. There's a few moments in here when I was watching, I'm like, oh, and I think it's especially because we watched season 8 and we've seen his progression as an actor, and he's brilliant.
Which season 8 is probably, in my opinion, his best performance to this date. I mean, what I meant with his acting is, I think, he definitely improves as the season goes on. But for me, it was season 5. I believe there's a correlation where this is just after he gets a child on the show, and I believe this was around the time or shortly after his child was born in real life. I could be wrong. I think I might be a couple years out, but
I think because I think around about this season, that season 1 is when he got married, and I think around late season 2 or season 3.
3, I think it was. But I still think there's a correlation there where kind of this, because by the time you get to season 5, we see this kind of side of Oliver that we've never really seen before, who we've seen him care about his friends and his loved ones and things like that, but we see this real parental care come out of Oliver by that season, and that's why I think he really steps up in 5. Because 5 was when he really started doing scenes where I was like, whoa. Like, especially like episode 17 of season 5. Yeah. Like, Jesus. But the scene that really kind of ticked it off for me with the bad acting, that takes the bad acting award in this one, is the scene between Oliver and Thea in the party, where he spots her buying drugs, and Thea's like, Oliver, you can't judge me. And it's like the way they're trying to have like this conflict, and they both just can't quite sell it. It's a bit cringy, it's a bit cheesy.
Yeah, it is a bit weird.
Yeah, that's my only real negative with this episode.
But then again, do you put that down to the acting, or do you put that down to the writing?
I'd say it's both. I'd say it's both. I think that, because again, I think that the writing isn't exactly amazing. I mean, that's a constant throughout all these shows. This is the CW we're talking about. And, just as a little bit of an off-topic thing, if you want to see how truly awful the CW is these days, please check out the most recent episode of Riverdale. I haven't watched it. I've just purely seen a clip. I don't know if you've seen it. You need to see it.
I've seen it, yeah. The musical.
Amazing. It's amazing. It's so brilliant.
I mean, this episode isn't to that levels of bad acting, but there's some like brief glimpses where like that bad acting just like cracks through. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this isn't good.
It's like Steven's delivery. He can sometimes be a bit wooden, which in a way, you can kind of look at it almost as an acting choice. I'd love if Steven came out and was like, oh yeah, it's just like, because obviously he hasn't really interacted with anybody at this point. Because to be fair, like at this point in the show, obviously we know things change as they go on. Like obviously we know they completely bullshit the island thing and stuff like that. But
but speaking of that, there's one scene that kind of just feels random in retrospect, given what happens in his 5 years on the island. That's the scene when he's sleeping by the window with the window open, and then Moira sneaks up on him and he catches her.
Yeah.
That scene kind of makes no sense, given that we know that he didn't spend all 5 years on the island, which just further indicates that they didn't plan that from the beginning.
Yeah, and that's what I mean with the acting choice about, like, if it was a choice of him almost being like, he's not interacted with society, because obviously he has. Like, he's literally been in, like, with so many people. He's had so many friends during these 5 years. And I also love as well, like, I mean, this is like a good thing with what they did with the island and stuff like that, and how they changed it was when he speaks Russian to Racer, and everyone's like, "What the hell? When did you learn Russian?" And I remember being like, I remember even seeing reviews of it at the time. People were like, "What? Like, what? This makes no sense. Who did he learn Russian from on the island?" And I love the fact that I was like, they actually tied that up 5 seasons later. I think it's actually really quite cool, which makes me think, did they have that plan? Because to me, it always felt like when they changed it in season 3 for him to go to Hong Kong, that always felt like a retcon to me. But then it's the Russian thing where I'm like, did they always plan it that way?
I think when they wrote the pilot, I think initially they had in mind it was 5 years on the island, and then once it got commissioned to series, they changed it. Because there's a scene later on in season 1 where Diggle asks, like, how do you know that all the names on this list are like legitimate? And Oliver says, "Oh, I found it from a video from my father." And he says, Diggle's like, "How did you do that?" He says, "I didn't find it on the island." So it's clear from that moment onwards they set stuff up that he went off the island. But I feel like in this pilot, they didn't have that in mind.
Yeah,
I feel like with the Russian stuff, they could have easily done that if he I don't know, bumped into a Russian character, and from there onwards he learns how to do it.
There's also a tattoo as well. I don't know if this is from here. Obviously, we'll find all this stuff out. It'll be cool to like rediscover this stuff as we go through it. But there's a tattoo on Oliver's left back, like shoulder blade. Is that from Hong Kong? Because it kind of looks Chinesey.
It's been that long since I've paid attention to the season 3 flashbacks that I wouldn't be able to give you a proper answer. And
also the thing is as well is, you know, season 1 has so much shirtless Oliver. Shirtless Oliver isn't as big of a thing as the show goes on. But like I when I was watching the episode just now, I saw this tattoo. I was like, is that? It looked kind of like, because it kind of looks like a dragon. A little bit. I could be wrong, but you know, I'd have to look at it again, and I'm sure we'll find out as thing goes on. Because that's what I do love about this as well, is that obviously you see Oliver shirtless a lot in this season. You see all the scars and the stuff like that, and you find how he gets each and every one. It's really cool. Anyway, let's dive into the episode properly. So, I think I should start off talking about characters. For me, I miss Tommy. When Tommy shows up in this, he's just lovely and likable, and I'm like, I miss you so much. Like, I miss Tommy just more than anything. Like, I know he comes back every now and then and stuff like that. We even saw him in season 8 and stuff, but like, just this version of Tommy, I'm so sad that, like, even though his death is so good and so impactful, I'm so sad he didn't live on longer. Because his role in this episode, and just like how he's such a good friend to Oliver, and he just seems so loyal, and just I just miss that version of Tommy, like, so much. So after a brief technical error, my point is that Tommy is just an amazing character, and I miss him.
Oh, we all do. We all miss Tommy, especially because we saw him again in season 8, and then you see him here, and it's just like, why?
As I was saying, I wish, like, even though I love his death in this season and how impactful it was and how it changed Oliver, I do like wish that he would have just lived on. We could have seen him just live on, and you know, I know ultimately, technically, he did. I don't want to get riled up on season 8 here, but but like, I wish we could have seen it, because he deserves it. Good old Colin Donnell.
Yeah. The only thing I will say about him in this episode is that, as a character-wise, he's kind of a by-the-numbers character. For me, Tommy doesn't really get interesting until around the halfway point of season 1. Yeah. Like, when he starts to work more closely with Malcolm.
Yeah.
I think that's when he gets more interesting. Because in here, he's just kind of he's your kind of typical comedy character. Like, comedy laddish character, where it's just like, oh yeah, Oliver, you know, you've not had sex in so long, so you need to get it on with one of these girls. That kind of stuff. He is a funny character, but he's not exactly the most well-rounded. I think it's just more because I love Colin Donnell in the role. That's what kind of sells it for me.
Yeah, we've seen so many different versions of Tommy since then as well, which adds to it. I do love the line when he just says, "Have you noticed how hot your sister's gotten? Because I have not."
Yeah, that line is creepy in retrospect.
It is, yeah, and and I actually noticed as well. I wonder if they were ever going to do anything with that, because do you notice the way Thea looks at Tommy as he walks out?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of weird. And to be fair, actually thinking about it, there is a scene later on in the season where Thea tries to get on with him, doesn't she?
Yeah.
So I think it's just a thing. Maybe like Thea, fancies him or whatever. But yeah, it's just like there's almost like a bit of tension there between them when they look at each other. Like, I was like, what have you been doing, Tommy? What have you been up to, man? But yeah, another character for me, because I love her so much, Moira. Moira is just such a brilliant character, especially because, it's the big oh shit moment of this episode is when, at the very end, you see Moira actually hired the guys to kidnap Oliver to find out information. And it just makes Moira, from, the unsuspecting, just mother, just be the most interesting character on the show, instantly. She's just so great, and I love Susanna Thompson. And I love the fact that she truly does just care for Oliver and her kids and stuff, despite what she does.
Yeah.
Oh, she's such a great character in this.
You just love Moira.
I do love Moira. I was just waiting for it to come back, because I've been waiting so long, because she's the one character who never came back. They brought her back twice in season 5, which was great. But other than that, and I was waiting for her to come back in some way in season 7, because I thought with the Ninth Circle and stuff, they were going to tie her in with that, because she is in the comics. I was kind of waiting for that moment, but it never came. Because they tied it more to Robert, really, than Moira, but... Yeah, just... I'm very much enjoying the fact that for the next 2 seasons, I'm going to have a lot of Moira, so I'm very, very pleased with that. Also, I'll tell you a character I didn't actually realise had such, what seems to be a really close and important connection with Oliver is Racer.
Yeah.
They seem really close in this episode, and it's bizarre because she's just gone after this episode until season 6.
She vanishes for 5 seasons.
Literally, she doesn't show up again until the season 6 premiere. I was like, what? Plus, we never see anything, because clearly Racer has been in this house for the 5 years that Oliver's been gone.
Yeah.
And then what? As soon as Oliver shows up, they just fire her. What happens? Although, shout out to Kathleen Getty, because she follows me on Twitter.
Yeah, same. She follows me on Twitter as well.
Absolute legend. But yeah, Racer. MVP, might I say. Also, I think other characters, I really actually forgot how it makes me laugh. Laurel makes me laugh in this episode. In how
be careful how you criticize my girl.
Oh no, this isn't criticism. Because we all know I love Laurel as well. This isn't criticism. I just find it funny, how angry she is towards Oliver. She hates him. The way she's full on I wish you would have rotted in hell a lot longer than 5 years.
I mean, put it this way: she's had 5 years to prepare for this.
Yeah. Probably could have maybe handled it a bit better than if you've had 5 years.
Well, his sister was dead, and then the guy that shows up who was cheating on her behind her back with her sister, is all of a sudden alive.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. Fair dues in her reaction.
Yeah. Plus, they do need it because this is the CW after all.
Exactly, relationships is the entire backbone of their network. So we have to have relationship drama, and it's just it's very telling because obviously this was clearly Endgame, but
it was
along the way.
It should have been.
As something a little
it should have been.
A little Fliss shows up later on.
Fuck that bitch.
We'll get to that in due course. But yeah, I actually love the scenes between Laurel and Oliver. I like the fact they kind of set up this conflict, and it's nice when it shows how far they go by the time you get to season 4 and stuff like that, and then obviously something happens there in season 4.
I'm not. Oh god, no!
Just wait till we get to that.
let's. How about we just not talk about that until it happens?
And let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Oh my god!
But I think it's even interesting as well how they set up in this episode with Laurel and Tommy. Really creepy the way Oliver sat on that staircase at the end, we're just watching over Tommy and Laurel.
Because he loves Laurel.
He does love Laurel, and he always loved Laurel, always. the entire time, and for the next 8 years. But yeah, Laurel's really good in this.
Very, very good.
We're big fans of Katie Cassidy here.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, I will mention one thing that really struck me about this episode, rewatching it, that I never noticed any other times, is that like the actual way the episode looks, the color palette is so different. It's so different to every other episode.
It seems it seems like the saturation's been brought up quite a bit.
Yeah, you could tell there was a saturation within the episode because
it looks good as well. I like it.
Yeah, it gives it a lot more of a cinematic feel, which I guess which I think is definitely needed, especially when it's a pilot, to convince a network to put it to series. Because if I remember correctly, I think David Nutter used like a similar technique with the Flash's pilot. Because if I remember correctly, I think the Flash's pilot has a bit of a different color palette to the rest of the series as well. So I don't know whether it's just a thing that he does, but I quite liked it for this episode. The color palette.
Yeah, I really like it. Especially it's the scene where he, sets up the lair and he turns on the green lights. Like they look really cool, and it's the scenes as well. Like at the very end of the episode where he crosses off Adam Hunt's name. Yeah, the lighting on Steven's face looks really good. Yeah,
all of the lighting in the episode is just really amplified by the color palette. I mean, the direction wise, I think this episode they couldn't have done much better. It was just really good. Like the amount of, even to this day, like this episode's 8 years old, and there's still so many iconic shots that I still remember from this. Like that entire opening sequence, especially the bit where he's pulling back on the bow to fire it into the pit.
Yeah,
I still remember that so vividly all those years on.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And I love all the stuff in the lair where he picks up the bow, which obviously like gets sort of re-amplified in season 7 and stuff. And where he's with the tennis balls and stuff like that. That's all really iconic to me. Obviously, the salmon ladder. It's the first time we see the salmon ladder. The rite of passage for Arrow. I love that whole scene in the lair. It's honestly one of my favourite scenes. It might be my favourite scene in this episode, and also it's one of my favourite scenes ever. I think it's so cool, because I genuinely think the best piece of music that's ever been written for Arrow is setting up the lair.
It's that scene, yeah.
It's so, like, the song is actually called Setting Up the Lair. It's so good. And it just works so well for what he's doing and how he's kind of setting it all up. It's fantastic. And I love, like, because again, it kind of shows like how far Oliver's come as well, because he literally starts out as a one-man show. He has all his computers. He's only got a couple of them. And, he's just got his own little training things that he's got. It's just for one man. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. Back when Oliver knew how to use computers and
back when he
wasn't
didn't need
relying.
someone to, help him out, tell him how to close windows and stuff. So yeah, the lair, iconic. I think the action scenes in this are fantastic overall. I missed the season 1 action. It's just so good.
It's just so brutal, man. He did not give a fuck about killing people.
No, I miss Killer Oliver. Like, I honestly think he should have killed the entire
No. I think it's better that we got it just for this one season, because it makes it stand out. It just makes it stand out more for me, and also because of how Green Arrow is in the comics. I think it was nice that they did it for this one season, but then afterwards kind of acknowledged, it was probably not the right thing to do.
Yeah,
but then again, if it's someone like yourself who loves season 1 and loves the fact that he kills, at least you've got that for the entire season.
Yeah,
where he just doesn't care.
I like the fact that, because the thing is, the reason why he obviously stops is completely justified, and I like that arc. Like, it's a good arc for him. It just kind of separates him from like most other superheroes on TV and movies and stuff, that he just goes around killing people. But they do also bring it back in season 5 as well, and they created a brilliant story with that. Like, kind of like the whole Prometheus thing was all around him killing, really, which was really cool. And it links into this season, so yeah, it works perfectly well. And it just makes the brutality of these fight scenes even more vivid, because you can just kind of really get a sense that he's really killing people. Just shooting people in the head with arrows and through the chests, and he's doing all these amazing kung fu moves in this. Like, you really get to see like the awesome fight choreography here. So yeah, I love all the action scenes. Like the scene in like Adam Hunt's office is fantastic. Also, did you see the guy who he's like that head of security guy who Adam Hunt has? You see the jawline on that guy?
Yeah, I'm impressed by that jawline.
You get cut through metal with that. I literally saw him come through, because he has like this really. I wonder if they were ever going to do anything with him in the future, because the way he comes in is almost like a villain shot. The way he walks in.
Yeah, but he gets slashed in the throat
He gets
by.
killed.
Did you forget that scene?
No, I just makes that, because the way he comes in, it almost makes it seem like they were framing it for like something else, and like the cops kind of look at him like, "Oh, who's this dude?"
Nah, I bet he was like someone that got like, rejected for the role of Batman. It's like, oh, what a jawline. Let's just get as many shots of his jawline as we can.
He auditioned for Malcolm Merlin.
But no one's more perfect than John Barrowman.
No, you can't have a better jawline than John Barrowman, to be fair. Also, Quentin.
Quentin,
my boy Quentin in this episode.
My
He has
boy-
some brilliant lines in this.
Oh yeah.
The Robin Hood line is fantastic. Always makes me laugh. And also, it's just like, I love his scenes with Oliver as well, because it's just like, I like the way he just shows up at the Queen Mansion and Moira's like, "I don't appreciate your tone, detective." And then he shows up at the party later on, he like gets up in Oliver's face, like, you know.
Yeah, it's like, do you even try to save her? It's
The accent.
Well, no, my boy Paul Blackthorne has a great accent.
I love his accent. I think it's great. I really enjoy it.
It's amazing. It's just, again, it's just so weird and nostalgic to just see how far the relationship has gone from this to season 6. Like, literally he hates his guts completely, and then it's just that's the thing. Oh yeah,
basically.
yeah. The nostalgia in this episode is there's some episodes where people say to you, "Oh, you got to take the nostalgia out of it. The episode wasn't that great." But when it's a show like Arrow that's been on for as long as it has, and I love that much, nostalgia is going to play a part in an episode like this. And it's just, when you see all the characters and how far they've come, it's impossible to not ignore it.
Yeah, and also I genuinely think this is a brilliant pilot. Nostalgia out of it, I genuinely think this is such a solid pilot, because I think it does a perfect job of just establishing everything.
Yeah.
Because, put it this way, right? The reason why Arrow is probably my favourite show of all time is because it was kind of the first show I ever really got into. Although, funnily enough, I had actually watched Daredevil and Jessica Jones before I watched Arrow. But when I watched this pilot, I often describe it as the night I fell in love. Because for me, as someone who had never really watched TV before properly, and someone who had never really gotten into a show or really found myself caring about a show in a major way, like Arrow, when I watched the Arrow pilot, that was it for me. Like, I knew from that moment I was hooked, and that was it. And that's what kicked off everything, which is just a big domino effect, and led me to doing this kind of stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. It was that, and for me, I think that's why Arrow was such a good pilot. Like, it literally just gripped me so much from the get-go, and I think it just comes from the fact that all the characters are so well established, the action's great, it establishes the world, it intrigues you with the flashbacks, it intrigues you with the cliffhanger at the end, which is a big thing that Arrow often does. It's just so well put together, and it's perfectly done. It's almost like this episode was done by J.J. Abrams. Like, he just hooks you.
Lens flares.
Not lens flares necessarily, but, but you know, almost with not mystery boxes per se, but just in the sense that it grips you instantly. I think that it's just really well done as a pilot.
Can you remember when you first watched the pilot?
It would have been in 2016.
Damn. No, because like I say, for those who don't know, I've watched Arrow since the beginning. Like, I watched it. I think I watched it the UK premiere. Yeah, I think for the first half of season 1, I watched it pretty much as it aired in the UK. Then I found out that it aired in the US, obviously, a week, like a day beforehand. Or what was it? I can't remember if it was a day or a week back then. But whatever, I just watched it from the US, went from that onwards. But I still vividly remember watching that pilot episode, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. It was brilliant. And I do agree, it is one of the best pilot episodes that I've ever seen. And bear in mind, compared to Declan, I've seen way more TV shows. And the fact that this pilot episode still stands that high in my regard is quite good, especially when you got pilots that I love. Like, I love the Breaking Bad pilot. I still think that is probably the best pilot I've ever seen. Prison Breaks, Banshees. There's so many great pilot episodes. This is up there. It's honestly so good. I just love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, and I mean, I've not I've watched like a lot more TV since then because again, Arrow was almost like my gateway drug to TV. I mean, I've definitely not watched as many shows as you, but for me, I was just so kind of taken by this pilot, and just it brought me onto the show, and that was it. And now it's something that I would consider. I'd say Arrow is probably my biggest love in regards to like media and an IP. Like, there's nothing I love more, I have more of a connection to. There's nothing that can make me cry at the drop of a hat like Arrow can. Arrow just gets me, and that's what this pilot was. So, I'll tell you something I genuinely love this episode as well. Is there's a really cool shot in this, and I forgot how cool it was. Like, Sarah's death shot in this is awesome. Like, the way she gets dragged out of the boat, and then the way the camera flips and transitions. Do you notice it? Like, it's genuinely awesome.
Yeah, I would just transitions then to Oliver rising up out of the ocean. That is a cool shot. It's a cool transition.
Shot. I genuinely think it's one of the best shots they've ever done. I was looking at it going, this is amazing.
Yeah. The only thing that puts me off guard about it is the fact that it's not
actress.
Kate. Yeah. It's a different actress. It's not Katie Lotz. Which again, it just kind of proves that they had. To be fair with that, I don't know whether it's because they had no idea they were going to bring Sarah back, because I don't really know.
Yeah,
it's just weird watching that and then just looking at it. It's like, oh yeah, it's a different actress. It's not Katie Lotz.
I don't think they had the plan initially to bring Sarah back. I think it was something they did, and then they realized that they wanted to get a more dependable and more better actress. I don't think it's right to say that the actress in this was bad, because she doesn't really do anything.
She only literally has like 5 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, so it's hard to know. But obviously, they must have not have been comfortable with just having her, because I mean, Sarah was a regular in season 2, so you had to have someone sort of more stronger and dependable. So do
you know Sarah isn't actually listed as a regular in season 2. She's listed actually. Yeah, I didn't know this until a few days ago. She's actually only listed as recurring, which is proper weird.
That is weird because she's in so much of it, and the
especially the flashbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is bizarre.
God, that's mental, man.
Yeah. Also, we get Diggle. Diggle shows up. We get the first appearance of Diggle. Amazing stuff. it's just his stoic look. Always.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
Yeah. It's just I love how they just completely play him as just this completely oblivious comedy character in here, where it's just like, no, Mr. Queen, I'm gonna take you to point X, and then it's just like finding ways to get away from him. Like the car one is so unimplausible, but I still love it regardless.
And it's so iconic as well. I love the fact that they did it in season 8. It's brilliant, and it gets me really excited because I know in the next few episodes we're gonna meet. Do you remember when he gets that other bodyguard? We'll talk about it, in these episodes. But I forgot how much I love that other bodyguard who comes in.
Oh yeah,
he comes in in episode 5 or something. So we'll talk about it soon. But Diggle. I love the way it's just like, oh yeah, I came out of the party, I needed some time for myself. He's like, yeah, I believe you if you weren't so full of crap. like Diggle's just so on point in this episode. And just, again, the fact that these two kind of show up, like, because you can tell Diggle's just like, this guy's a prick, he's an asshole. Yeah. But again, they become brothers by the end of it. Awesome stuff. Is there anything else in this episode that stands out?
I mean, other than just crying over the amount of nostalgia, I think I've pretty much said, but we get a nice little cameo from James Bamford as well. James Bamford cameo is the guy that Oliver... the guy whose neck Oliver snaps at the 2 guys that kidnap him?
Oh, yeah.
The guy whose neck he snaps. That's James Bamford.
Oh, wow. I'd have to go back and look at that.
I always knew that because I remember, I think it was Stephen and Mel had put a tweet on, I think it might have been last year, where he was reminiscing about season 1, and he was like, oh, James Bamford, you were my first kill on Arrow.
Oh, I'd have to go back and look at that.
Yeah. So then I watched it when I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely James Bamford. And I'm just shocked I never recognized it beforehand.
Oh wow, I mean, James Bamford will go on to be, even that's crazy. Like, he's just a stunt coordinator and kind of stunt guy in this, and then he'll go on to be what I'd say is Arrow's best director.
Yeah, damn. Careers in the making, boys.
Exactly. We have a lot of big moves being made.
Yeah. Also, other than the fact that this season just reaffirms why Loriver was endgame and Loriver is better than Olicity. Just shoving that in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. It's just, we're
Yeah.
going to be talking about this a lot.
Yeah, especially in episode 5.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be great. I could just, I almost want to just delve into a massive discussion now, but we'll have to wait. We'll wait. We'll savor it for when it's more appropriate. But yeah, I think that's basically everything summed up for this episode.
Yeah. What rating would you give this episode?
Oh, are we doing this?
Yeah, we got to do it.
We've got to rate every single episode. Right, how are we rating this? What we doing?
You're
the rating guy, so you can sort this out.
I always rate it out of 10.
Out of 10.
I always rate everything out of 10.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm just the kind of person that does that. If you do it like with your way, where it's like film grades or anything like that, I get lost. So because I'm that dumb, I need to do it in numbers. If I were to give this episode a rating, I'm kind of torn because I feel like it's an 8 because even though I say there's great pilot episodes, I don't necessarily think they're like top tier amazing. There's very rarely a TV show where like the pilot episode is legitimately one of the best, apart from Breaking Bad's. But because of how much nostalgia there is for this episode, I probably have to give it a 9.
Oh.
Purely from nostalgia, because of just when I look back at this episode, especially now that it's the first time I've watched it since the show's ended, and it's so hard to just put them aside, especially because of how much I love the show. So for me, it would have to be a 9.
I think for me, I have so much I love with this episode. There's so much nostalgia. As I said, it basically sums up everything and every reason why I love the show. The only thing this episode is really missing in regards to why I love the show is that this episode doesn't really have any villains. Like, it doesn't.
There's no like Adam Hunt. He's serviceable as a villain, but then again, for a pilot episode, you're not just gonna throw away a major villain. So I get it from that perspective. The only real complaints I had is stuff that is mainly due to retrospect of what the show does after this. So I can't really blame it on this episode. And also, like you said, the cheesy acting and dialogue at times is what drags it down a little bit. But the nostalgia for this episode is just on what this episode helped to kickstart. You know, without this episode, we wouldn't have Arrow Season 1. You wouldn't have The Flash coming in. You wouldn't have the Arrowverse. I think about all of that, and it's too hard to ignore. You just can't ignore stuff like that. So that's why it bumps up my score to a 9.
Yeah, and for me, as I said, I just love pretty much everything. The only negative I have is, like I said, there is some cheesy and bad acting at times, which is the only thing that really drags it down for me. So with that, I'd probably also give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm more surprised we actually agree on something for once.
Yeah, isn't it good?
I've been so used to this last season of Arrow disagreeing with you on everything. It's so nice to agree.
It's good not to argue. So yeah, I will also give it a 9 out of 10. So there we go. We can confirm that. That's the official Honor Thy podcast, technically, grade for pilot.
Oh, we're still using that name. We're still using that dead podcast's name.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this isn't Honor Thy podcast anymore, even though it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. You know, it's our duo name.
Oh yeah.
It's the new Ant and Dec.
Yeah, except it's not going to become relevant for another 100 weeks until we get to season 5.
No. So anyway, that draws this first Arrow review to a close. Make sure you leave your thoughts on pilot in the comments down below. And also, are you going to be joining us on this journey? Are you going to be rewatching each episode along with us as we review each episode? As I said, I can't exactly specify when each and every episode is going to come out. I think we're going to try and do 2 a week.
Yeah.
But at least 1 a week. So make sure you are subscribed and you have that notification bell hit so you can always stay up to date with every single upload and along with all the other awesome videos that I make, because they are pretty banging even if the audio does cut out. And yeah, with all out the way, I've been Dec.
I have been Dan.
And we hope to see you guys again next time.